I now introduce you to author, Republican, and my friend and comrade, John Crawley.
It's great to see such a wonderful turnout today. Wolfe Tone died in prison, alone, surrounded by his enemies, but he lies here today surrounded by his friends and comrades, and it's great to see it. Why do we gather today at the grave of this Church of Ireland patriot, who never considered for a moment that because he was Protestant, he was British? Why did Patrick Pearse believe that Wolfe Tone was the greatest of Irish nationalists, the greatest of Irish men? Who was this young Kildare lawyer, whom the Duke of Wellington said was a most extraordinary man, with 100 guineas in his pocket, unknown, unrecommended, and without friends? He went to Paris and persuaded the French government to send an army of 15,000 men to overthrow British authority in Ireland. This was an achievement of genius. Thomas Davis and the Young Irelanders laid a stone on this grave in 1844. The IRB, the Irish Volunteers, and the Irish Citizens' Army all gathered here over the years. Tom Clark, executed in 1916, spoke here on 4 consecutive occasions. Liam Mellows, later executed by the Free State, spoke beside this grave to the Four Courts garrison just before the start of the Civil War. So too has a succession of Sticks, Provos, and Fianna Fáilers. Many wish to pay homage to his inspirational life, others to opportunistically bask in his reflected glory. Some to claim his posthumous endorsement of one Republican project, or to imply he would have supported the surrender of another. All gather here because few in Irish history talk the talk and walk the walk like Theobald Wolfe Tone. Wolfe Tone did not view himself as a Protestant of ascendancy or the plantation, but of the Enlightenment. It was Wolfe Tone who gave the United Irishmen their name. Founded in Belfast in 1791, they were not campaigning for United Ireland in the territorial sense. Ireland wasn't partitioned until 1922. They were seeking to unite Irishmen in the interest of Ireland as opposed to dividing Irishmen in the interest of England. The Irish people, Tone wrote, had one common interest and one common enemy. The manifesto of the United Irishmen declared, "We have no national government. We are ruled by Englishmen and the servants of Englishmen, whose object is the interest of another country, whose instrument is corruption, whose strength is the weakness of Ireland." Ireland still has no national government. There is an Irish government in Dublin, but it's not the government of Ireland. There are 2 governments of Ireland, one based in Minster House and the other at Westminster in London. Stormont is a regional assembly of the British Parliament. Instead of national politics, we have partition politics. And who could look at Stormont and Britain's Secretary of State and deny that part of Ireland continues to be ruled by Englishmen and the servants of Englishmen? Unionists never had an issue with the United Ireland per se. They lived in United Ireland under Crown jurisdiction for hundreds of years. The Orange Order is an all-Ireland institution. The Presbyterian and Methodist churches are all-Ireland ministries. And of course, the Church of Ireland is not the Church of Northern Ireland. Their real objection is becoming subject to the democratic decision-making of a national electorate that contains a Catholic majority. When Republicans speak of reaching out to Unionists, we mean reaching out to them as fellow citizens and not as foreigners who happen to live here. Foreigners are born in another country. The vast majority of Ulster Unionists were born in Ireland. They must not be treated as the civil garrison of an alien state. That is not pluralism. That is submitting to the social and political modelling of colonial conquest. Patrick Pearse said of Wolfe Tone, "He has spoken for all time, and his voice resounds throughout Ireland, calling to us from this grave when we wander astray, following other voices that ring less true." Today, the voices that ring less true tell us that far from breaking the English connection, we must work within it. That sectarianism, inequality, and partition will eventually be ended by collaborating with the government that created and sustains them. If you want to believe that, then work away. Good luck to you. If you manage to get elected or co-opted to Stormont, the British government will subsidise your belief with a salary, expenses, and ultimately a pension. But don't internalise Britain's pacification project and call it a Republican peace strategy. We have had pacification many times in our history. We have it now. However, we will never achieve lasting peace in our country until the root cause of conflict is definitively addressed, which is Britain's claim to govern any part of Ireland. Irish republicanism is fundamentally about replacing sectarian and ethnic divisions with united civic identity in a sovereign republic. It is not about a shared island rooted in British-Irish identity politics. Many supporters of the Good Friday Agreement believe the Intergovernmental British-Irish Council should keep functioning even after a pro-unity referendum is won, so that Britain can continue to represent its citizens in the northeast of Ireland. Far from achieving sovereignty over our whole territory and population, a part of Ireland will continue to be administered under British government supervision. Many shared islanders also advocate a continuation of Stormont and champion an enduring role for the British royal family as an institutional point of reference for the loyalties of those who would prefer to see themselves as a civic outpost of London rather than as equal citizens of a national democracy. A 32-county state built upon the political architecture of the Good Friday Agreement will not be a united Ireland. A shared Ireland means we share in Britain's analysis of the nature of the conflict as a domestic dispute between sectarian factions. We share in the colonial legacy of sectarian apartheid, and we share in the imperial project of divide and rule. Differences that will become incidental in a genuine republic remain fundamental in a shared island. The shared islanders call on us to embrace these differences for the sake of peace, as opposed to Tone's Republican vision of ending these differences for the sake of peace. Robert Emmet did not request that his epitaph be withheld until his country had taken its place as two nations among the nations of the earth. Those who believe that unionists may be enticed into a 32-county state by discarding or eroding Irish national flags and symbols, by changing the national anthem, by chasing English royalty around Ireland, or by attending British war memorials, forget that Ulster Unionists chose to opt out of joining the 26-county state in 1922 when that state had substantially closer links with Britain than it does today. The Free State government had retracted its allegiance to the Irish Republic, set up a subordinate parliament in the name of the King, took an oath to be faithful to that King, was a member of the British Commonwealth, and was eagerly murdering Republicans with arms supplied by the British government. And yet, Unionists wanted no part of it then and want no part of it now. Britain ensures they don't have to. Republicans know that a genuine process of national reconciliation can only begin when Britain leaves Ireland and can no longer interfere in our internal affairs. This includes Britain's claim to act on behalf of Ulster Unionists in a future non-partitioned Ireland. Britain was awarded no right to represent Ulster Unionists in the three Ulster counties incorporated into the Free State in 1922. Many of these Unionists in Cavan, Monaghan and Donegal had signed the Ulster Covenant and were as loyal to the Crown in their day as their brethren a mile up the road in Fermanagh or Tyrone are today. 103 years later, their descendants are still Protestant. Those who wish to be are still Orangemen, but they are not the British presence. They are equal and valued citizens of the Irish state. During the Troubles, the UK government portrayed the war as a criminally motivated conflict in which Britain selflessly held the line between sectarian factions in 6 Ulster counties. However, there was no trouble between these same factions in the 3 Ulster counties outside of Crown jurisdiction after the British government left in 1922. Isn't it amazing what can be accomplished when you take London out of the equation? Ending the partition of our country while sustaining the partition of our people, giving it constitutional legitimacy, and imprinting that division with a democratic mandate is a dream come true for the Brits. It ensures that Unionists will remain forever in Ireland, but not of it. It makes us willing accomplices in our national discord. It guarantees that the political malignancy through which Britain historically controlled and manipulated Ireland will endure. Despite the assertion of many Irish politicians, the United Kingdom is not our friend or ally. It is not a force for peace and should not be allowed to define the concept of peace in Ireland. Britain continues to occupy our country. It has invaded or established a military presence in 171 of the 193 countries that are currently UN member states. Britain has caused chaos across the globe. To cite one of countless examples, it played a pivotal role in engineering the catastrophe in Palestine. More recently, there have been hundreds of Royal Air Force reconnaissance flights over Gaza and aerial bombings throughout the region in support of Israel. We must not be harnessed to Britain's war chariot. We must not be lured into a British border poll by promises of the wonderful things that can happen if we join NATO. Ireland has a democratic right to determine the Irish national question on an Irish national basis without preconditions from Unionists, partitionists or the British government. British jurisdiction in Ireland is an affront to our national sovereignty, an assault on our national democracy, and their openly stated intention to exploit our national territory in any future global conflict presents an existential threat to our national survival. There are those donning the mantle of Irish republicanism who are so shallow, so opportunistic, so cynical. They would support a 32-county Irish state becoming a British protectorate within the British Commonwealth in order to claim they helped to achieve the United Ireland Republicans fought and died for. They reveal a form of corporate narcissism in which they convince themselves that anything they do is Republican, no matter how counter-Republican it proves to be. Wolfe Tone would roll in his grave. Returning to the man himself, Tone tried and failed to bring French Republican forces to Ireland in 1796 and again in 1797, but it was thwarted on both occasions by unfavourable winds and weather. Tone attempted a third time to bring an expeditionary force containing 3,000 men to Ireland. This last action of the 1798 rebellion took place in October when the Royal Navy defeated the French in a naval battle off the coast of Donegal. Wolfe Tone refused an offer to escape and was captured in the uniform of a French officer. Recognized by a fellow Trinity graduate, he was brought to Dublin. Tone was tried and sentenced to death. He was placed in the same cell that his executed brother Matthew had been placed in a month previously. In the cell he found a small razor, possibly Matthew's, and reportedly cut his throat to deny the British government the spectacle of hanging him. He died a week later on the 19th of November 1798. He was 35 years old. The British government would permit only 2 people to attend his burial here in Bodenstown. Sean O'Faolain wrote, "If Tone did not in his lifetime achieve much, he started much. Without him, republicanism in Ireland would virtually have no tradition." Today we honour this intelligent and sincere man who gave the United Irishmen their name, this articulate man who defined their cause, this resourceful and persuasive man who organised 3 invasion fleets in an attempt to free his country from foreign rule and sectarian structure that propped it up. This courageous man who said that if necessary, he would land in Ireland with nothing more than a corporal's guard. We stand today beside the grave of this remarkable patriot to honour his service and sacrifice and to reaffirm our commitment to his ideals. We stand here not as Southern or Northern Irishmen and women, not as Catholics or Protestants, not as inhabitants of this island, nor advocates of insipid all-Ireland institutions, but as United Irishmen and women. We stand today as Tone and his comrades stood then, as unapologetic Irish Republicans. Leaving Wolfe Tone's grave, we take with us an inspiring reminder of what authentic leadership looks like. We depart, re-energized by his immortal words, to subvert the tyranny of our execrable government, to break the connection with England, the never-failing source of all our political evils, and to assert the independence of my country. These were my objects. To unite the whole people of Ireland, to abolish the memory of all past dissensions, and to substitute the common name of Irishman in the place of the denominations of Protestant, Catholic and Dissenter. These were my means. Of the Republic.